Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Winged Octopus. This is Tyler here alongside Tanner and Tess. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing well. Life is good.
And Tess, how you doing tonight in Michigan?
I'm doing okay. Long work day, but grinding through it.
Yeah, so I would say here it's been like up and down. Yesterday it was rain and like in the 40s. Today is 80 degrees. I don't know. The weather is just yeah, I guess Massachusetts and Michigan have similar weather cycles. So without further ado, there was a hiccup here with the Red Wings, and there's still another one that needs to be solved. But for now, this one has been solved. Tomas Tatar signed a 4-year, $21.2 million deal. That's 5.3 average annual value. So basically 5.3 a year under the cap hit. It has a full trade protection in the 3rd year, and then in the 4th year it has a partial trade protection. So I believe at the deadline you can move him without him having to waive his no movement clause or whatever it is. Excuse me. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that real quick. Just the contract and like what it means for the Red Wings going forward here.
I was first off a little bit surprised that they got a deal done as early as it happened. A week or two ago when we did this podcast, or we're reading how far apart that both of these both sides stood before arbitration came around, it seemed like they were way far apart on money and years. I thought Tatar was going to play his last year in Detroit and then go get his money elsewhere. I mean, the Wings tried to pay him less than what Abdelkader is currently making annually, which was terrible, and I would have laughed at that offer from them too. But I don't know as much some of the issues that we've heard in that locker room. I don't know if Tatar had anything to do with that, but I don't think that they overpaid or extended for Tatar. I was glad that it was kind of kept to a 4-year, $5 million deal. But they still have to re-sign Athanasiou, I think, and I think they just have a little bit of space to do that. They might have to make another cap move elsewhere to do so, which was brought up the other day in an article that we talked about that was brought on NHL on NBC, and I don't remember if it was them or somebody from Winging It in Motown wrote it, but talked about buying out Eriksson to create a little more space there.
Yeah, that was NHL on NBC.
Yeah, which I love that idea. But it's overall a good contract for the Wings and a good contract for Tatar. I hope he grows into a leader into that locker room, and he'll be 30 years old when that contract is up. So kind of gives him another opportunity to play for another big contract in the coming years.
Yeah, so I think my general thoughts, I'm glad they didn't extend themselves and end up paying 6 or 5.5 for him. I mean, I guess they almost went to 5.5, but they bent, they didn't break. And I think that the Tatar comment of this will be my last season in Detroit if I don't get a long-term deal, I think that kind of swayed Ken Holland to say, okay, you know what, let's not piss this guy off. This guy's scored 20 goals each of the last few years, and, he's been pretty consistent. So let's give this guy his money. He deserves it. Maybe he can grow into a little bit of a leader, and then when we're ready to win again, or, well, he thinks we're ready to win right now, he'll be long gone probably. But Tess, I want to get your thoughts real quick. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tanner.
No, I was just saying again, it surprised me because we didn't seem like either sides were close to a deal. I was surprised that it kind of came up that quickly, or that they agreed that soon. But
yeah, I was pretty stunned when it happened, to be honest with you. Tess, I want to get your thoughts, please.
Well, last show I was basically telling Tatar he can go pack up his shit and leave because I was done with his piss poor attitude. But when I saw the deal, yeah. Hashtag pack your shit. When I saw the deal was done, I didn't hate it. I was expecting like that 1-year deal, like, okay, he'll have 1 more year, and leave. But then I found the article that Craig Custance did. He wrote it back on Saturday, and I was just reading through it before we went on, and it was like, I feel like he was like behind the scenes, but he said both parties went out to dinner the night before, and before talks were going, they were joking and just having like civilized conversations. So that made me feel better that like there was no hostility. Tatar just wanted to get what he thought was worth.
Yeah.
And Ken Holland, he heard Tatar's side of it, and they just came to agreement, which I made happy. Like, it was like civilized. I didn't want any bad blood going into this new season. So to see everything was basically mutual and civil, I was very pleased, and I'll be on the Tatar bandwagon for this season. He just has to prove himself. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tatar's one of the few guys on the team that, like, you know, wears his emotions on his sleeve. I mean, I think one of the coolest moments in Tatar's career was when his father died, and, you know, they were in LA, and he scored, I think it was a hat trick, or was it 2 goals? I don't remember exactly. But, you know, he took off his glove and he, you know, saluted to upstairs, to the man upstairs. And, like, you know, I thought that was really cool. So,
and Zetterberg hugged him.
Yeah, exactly. That was like a heart
all over TV, all over the news. Brought a tear to everyone's eye for sure.
Yeah.
He's had a few of those awesome moments. So like that,
Definitely.
I want to see that Tatar like every game. Like, bring your emotion, and of course, are you entertained?
No, are you entertained?
Entertained for 4 more years.
I mentioned a couple weeks ago on the Winged Octopus podcast, I said the sad thing is once he leaves, we'll lose 90% of our gifts that we're able to use for the Red Wings, which now we can use again for 4 more years. So, you know, his excitement, enthusiasm he brings to the team is awesome. Some of those goals are Dax Suk-like. In a certain ways with some of his toe drags and some of his dekes. So, you know, and I hope once he gets healthy after the shoulder thing that he can bring it for a full season, night in, night out, and not have nights, you know, where he's disappearing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the key for Nyquist, Tatar and Nyquist as well. Because when those guys are going, those guys are really good hockey players, of course. And those guys can put the puck in the net. Those guys are the type of players that will take you from being, you know, maybe a borderline, you know, probably missed the playoffs team to a team that's going to make the playoffs and could possibly win a round. Because, like I said before, it's the NHL. You never know in the NHL. It's not the NBA where there's 2 good teams. It's not the NFL where the Patriots rule everything pretty much. You know, there's competitive balance. And I think in the NHL, you just never know. And I would say that's the biggest thing, honestly. And here's the other thing. When Tatar and Nyquist are confident and they're skating with the puck and they're taking shots, they're scary. They're both of them. They're scary. But they just go into these lapses, like in their long Johan Franzen like lapses. Right.
They're very streaky. They'll have 5 hot games and they'll go cold for a month. That's the frustrating part. Is just dealing with players that are just streaky, and you want them to be consistent.
And they should be the goal scorers. I mean, they just should. They're guys that can contribute there. So.
Well, I think there's one other thing on the Nyquist front, though. I think Nyquist got overrated by putting the team on his back when, you know, in reality, he's not a goal scorer. He's by trade a playmaker. So, you know, you kind of paid a playmaker goal scorer money. And that's where, like, a lot of people are like, well, Nyquist is overpaid. Yeah, he is overpaid. He's getting paid as a goal scorer.
I think the fans overhyped him that season.
Yes,
the fans,
Yep.
The goose is loose. We hopped on, and now we're kind of paying the price for getting too excited too quickly. Yes, I do love the goose is loose.
Those guys will be kind of part of our youth movement, and they'll be part of that youth movement with Dylan Larkin, who was premiered on the other day on the news, kind of as a little spotlight area, talking about his confidence coming into this season and the Red Wings youth movement, if they can rely on them. And it was said that he was going to start this season just like he did last season at center, which I think we need is a position still of need in Detroit. And I think it's a position that Larkin needs to get better at. Looking at his face-off numbers, you know, the last 2 years, he was just 41% in his rookie year. And then his sophomore year, he just followed it up with 45%. So he really has to improve in the face-off circle, I think, to be a solid center in Detroit. I love him when he uses his speed and kind of gets out on the wings, but I think he has to improve his numbers in the face-off circle, you know. And I hate to make this comparison, but in the time that Steve Ott was in Detroit, he won 58% of faceoffs as a center and had about 180 opportunities to do so. So I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on if you saw those comments with Dylan Larkin and his confidence coming into this season, and can he improve as a center for this team for a long time?
I did see the video. Detroit's own Brad Galley on Channel 7 up here. So shout out to Brad Galley. He did that interview because Larkin was doing his, I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter, his hockey school from his hometown.
Yeah.
So he was hosting that, and they interview him because, hometown thing. And watching the video, you could tell like Dylan, he just looked like kind of refreshed, and he was saying he feels more confident. And he also made a comment that he's played a lot of hockey the last 2 years.
He looks like he's grown, doesn't he? I mean, that kid was just like baby face like 2 years ago, and now he looks like he's a 26 guy with 3 kids and like.
Right. He's not a baby anymore, but just hearing him talk, he just sound more confident. And a comment he made towards the end of the interview, he said, the end of the season, like he's like, our last game at the Joe, the way we played against New Jersey, we played so well. And he goes, I thought to myself on the bench, how come we couldn't play like this all season? And he admitted that, like, with all the hockey he was playing, he would be tired at that point of the season. So he gave himself rest. He just started skating. He said the last few weeks, he said he feels good. So if he's confident, I'm going to trust him and hope that he's, like, learn not to, you don't have to play hockey nonstop. I know hockey is life, but you need a break. We're counting on you, Dylan. You're, like, the next generation of wings players. So be smart. So if he's confident, I'll give him a chance. But, I mean, obviously, if he doesn't do well at center, then there's going to have to be a change. But I'm hopeful that he will do well.
See, there's 2 hands of this. There's the hand where the Red Wings need a center, but there's also a chance, and this is where I kind of disagree with what both of you guys are saying. If he's confident in playing it, okay, all the power to him. But here's my thing. Okay, great. You'd love him to play in the middle, right? And, if you look at the centers down the middle, they only have 5. They have Zetterberg, they have Nielsen, they have Helm, they have Riley Sheehan, and they have Andreas Athanasiou, who's not really a center, and then they have Glendening. So bad count there. But basically, they don't have enough centers as it is. So you're kind of forcing this kid to learn center. And if he's a better winger, I would just leave him on the wing. Just don't piss him off. Now, basically, you guys are saying it won't piss him off, but in the grand scheme of things, let him do what he does best. Let him use his speed. Let him use his skill. And I think that's best suited on the wing. I think that he's one of those players that you just let him do his thing. Like Phil Kessel, like Patrick Kane, like, those kind of players. I feel like Dylan Larkin is one of those guys that's not going to want to come back and play defense all the time like a center has to. And then there's also the chance that you ruin a kid like him by making him play too defensively as a center and not using his speed and skill.
And that era of two-way forwards that Detroit has been so good at, having Zetterberg and Datsuk for the last decade, kind of probably changes some of those guys' mindsets or what they want for some of these young guys coming in. I don't think that they're forcing him to play center. I think he's a guy who can play center, but to your point, I think you're right. I think you got to get him settled in an area and kind of keep him in that area. The moment you start bouncing him around and saying, and start kind of picking apart, those areas, and he does need to improve in the face-off circle, but I think you're right. They need to kind of get him in that lane and keep him there and do what he does best.
Yeah, because, you think about it. Last year they started him in the middle, and then, 2 weeks into the season, they scrapped that. They're like, nope, we're moving him right away. We're a better team with him on the wing. And if that's what they think, then I'm just going to say do what you think is best for this kid. Because if you ruin this kid, you have problems.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say.
I was going to say, let's see how the preseason goes and how the first handful of games. So, I feel like you can get a good feel the first few weeks of the season, but you don't want to wait too long. If he's not producing, then a change needs to be made. Don't wait until Christmas time.
Definitely. But the other thing you have to understand is centers do take a little bit to develop. So, and his production is probably going to suffer if you do put him in the middle. And I'm not saying that I disagree totally with putting him in the middle. I just say, you know what, put him somewhere and leave him there. Yeah. Don't start dinking with them and dunking with them, because then you're going to lose production. You're going to lose speed. You may even lose him as a player, mentally. So.
When we talked about in previous podcasts before that his plus-minus was one of the worst in the league last year. And we talked about, this kid being 19, 20 years old. He's got a lot to learn, and he's probably in the right place for some guys to look up to for that. Hopefully that that confidence thing that, you mentioned, Test, and that he mentioned in that video. If he's as confident as he sounded, it'll be pretty exciting.
Very. Speaking of confidence, hopefully our homeboy Jimmy Howard has a lot of confidence going into this season, because there was an article released by Adam Gretz on NHL NBC Sports that the Red Wings would like Jimmy Howard to play between 50 and 55 games this season, which I honestly chuckled the first time I saw that. Like, we're talking about like our Jimmy Howard, like the same Jimmy Howard.
Yep.
So here's a quote. Who was it? I'm sorry. The goalie coach, Jeff. I cannot pronounce his last name. I'm not going to butcher it. I butcher names really bad. He was quoted, apparently talking to Helene St. James of the Free Press, saying, "We're very comfortable with having Jared Koru as a third goalie. I have no problem with him being the backup goalie either. If we can keep Jimmy Howard healthy to play 50 to 55 games, I was comfortable with Jared in a role like that. But we obviously had Peter back. Vegas didn't have interest in him, so I'm hoping he comes in with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove." So apparently they're saying, like, they don't really want to make Peter the number one, because I guess there's still like some bad blood just from that comment. So no pressure, Jimmy. You're our go-to right now. So ideally, yeah, when Jimmy's good, like, he's good. We talked about it 2 podcasts ago. Like, both Mrazek and Howard were good if you let them be in net for more than 3 games.
Yes.
But then they would get too mental. Yeah,
that's where you have a problem with 2 starting goalies. I mean, both of them can be starters in the NHL.
You gotta have
that's the problem.
You gotta have
so if they have told Jimmy, like, you're going to be your number one, so get that in your head mentally for training camp, be number one, like, play your best. I think he could be amazing, because we've seen him be amazing. So if he has that mindset, and goalies, they say, are very mental and just kind of weird up there.
Yeah,
more power to them.
And I'm gonna pick on him.
To keep that.
I'm going to pick on him just a little bit. Obviously, he's got to stay healthy. That's his big thing. In 2015-16, he only played in 37 games, starting 33 of those. Last year, he played in just 26, starting 24 of those. The 2 seasons prior to those, he played in around 52 games in both of those seasons, but he was only at 23 and 21 wins. He hasn't won in a season since his first 3 full seasons in Detroit, where he won 37, 37, and 35 from 2009 to 2012. So I want him to be that guy, and I want him to be healthy, and I want him to have that confidence. But to our point of, as long as Blashill isn't switching them out every other night and kind of giving these guys a go at getting a confidence streak, and the guys that are playing in front of them, Howard, we mentioned before, Howard and Mrazek have 2 different styles of goaltending, and I think your team kind of needs to it's not that they don't know who's playing behind them, but your game style changes different depending on the goalie.
Yeah, it does, definitely.
So again, I'd love 50 to 55 games from Jimmy Howard this year if we could get that. Heck, at this point, I'd love around 45, just because he hasn't been healthy in a few years. So
a healthy 45 games.
Yes, a healthy 45.
Healthy.
Yes,
he deserves to have a good, healthy season. I feel like he's long overdue for being completely healthy. Like, he's worked hard, So I'm pulling for him.
So doesn't this tell you that they just don't believe in Peter Mrazek anymore?
No. I don't think
hold on, let me finish.
think it's more of like teaching him a lesson.
So, but they did draft Keith Petruzzelli, and they also brought back Tommy McCollum. Like, what is the like? This to me tells me, like I said before, it kind of smells of something. Like, initially I thought they were going to move Mrazek, but there's no takers for him.
So I wonder if that leak kind of nixed all those plans. I wonder if.
Yeah, it's a possibility for sure.
I'm just wondering if his attitude, if it was known that it was basically his attitude problem. No GM's going to want an attitude player in their locker room.
Yeah, and so they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot if that report gets out.
Definitely.
I think it's a little more than that too. When Howard was healthy, he played incredible last year, and Mrazek did not have a great year of sorts. So I think you're kind of basing it off that. I don't think after all these, whether it's attitude issues or the kind of year that Mrazek had, that you come into next year and tell Mrazek, hey, despite you bitching and moaning about your situation, despite about the last year that you had, you're going to be our number one goalie going into training camp. I think that would be more shots at Jimmy Howard than it would be Mrazek. But I think that you tell the same guy in Mrazek that, look, you're going to come in and compete night in, night out. Jimmy is going to be our quote-unquote number one goalie, but if you're going to compete for playing time, you gotta be ready to go.
I think
so. Here's what's
Peter,
inconsistent.
Come fight for your job. Sorry, Tyler.
Yeah.
So here, like I said, here's what's inconsistent. I would say that they preach that they want to get younger on forward, they want to get younger on defense. Yet now you're going to start a 33-year-old goalie 50 to 55 games. I have no problem with it because it's consistent. It is consistent if you think about it because, they say they want to get back to the playoffs. Okay, fine. You want to get back to the playoffs? I guess you play the quote-unquote better goalie right now. But if it's a little bit inconsistent at the same time because they say they want to get younger on forward. They also want to get younger on the back end, yet you're going to put a 33-year-old goalie in there when you also have up and coming, could have been number one, 27-year-old or whatever he is, goaltender. It's a little inconsistent, but at the same time, it's consistent. I don't know.
Well, I have a question.
I feel like it's more of a what have you done for me lately type situation.
Sure
I feel that's how.
And that's how sports is. That's how sports is just in general. It's a what have you done for me lately? Fans are fickle in that sense. But I kind of have a question for you guys, and this is more of a open-ended question. If you guys can tweet us on Twitter if you guys have any answers for this. But I don't know of many other teams around the NHL that have literally two guys that are starters on the same team. And I can't think, and it probably doesn't work very well in today's day and age as we talk about having a workhorse. Can you guys think of anybody that has – I mean, I can't off the top of my head. Everything else is, oh, yeah, he's just a backup and he's came in and played well. I don't – and maybe I'm just too focusing on our team with who Mrazek is. I think around the league,
I'm trying to think so
is highly touted. But
well, I think previously you've had – Luongo and Schneider is the one that comes to mind.
But they didn't stay together for long, right?
No, they didn't. They traded both of them, in fact, because because that organization is incompetent as they come. Yeah. But here's the thing, with Luongo, Jimmy Howard's not Roberto Luongo, okay? But I guess it's the best comparison because Luongo, was older at that time, and Schneider was the up-and-coming goalie.
Yep.
And so I guess that's where the comparison comes. But right now, I really can't think of one.
And if there's a guy that comes in and steps up and plays really well, teams have either traded away the old guy, or they kept the new guy and traded away the old guy, or they dish off the guy who came in and played well. I haven't seen a team really keep two goalies. And again, if there's somebody out there that I'm missing, everybody, tweet me later, whatever.
I mean,
but
there's one. I do have one here. I don't know that this is like cut and dry. Both could start in the NHL, but Kari Lehtinen and Ben Bishop down in Dallas. I think both of those guys could be starters, but I don't think it's consistent because Ben Bishop isn't as young as Peter Mrazek. I don't think.
But they both just got there together, right? They haven't been in the same system for a number of years. So
before it was a
like
tandem.
big name goalies, though.
Just an idea.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. If I find anything, I'll let you know. But that's what
I really wish I could think of something, but I can't. I don't know. I feel like a goalie issue in Detroit, it's like we've been bitching about it for the last 25 years. Like literally since we had Ozzy and freaking Manny Legacy and Hassett. Like we're never happy here.
But there were years that stuff, like when they had Curtis Joseph those years. Like that that did not work out well, and fans were pretty fickle about that. Then you came in and had that opening closed door of Manny Legacy and Ty Conklin and just there were some guys in there that is just like, all right.
It would be nice to have like a drama-free goalie season here, but I don't think that's possible in Detroit because I can be hopeful. I can be optimistic.
No, you can be optimistic all you want. The reality is we just drafted a goalie, and now there's 3 goalies that could probably – well, in Corot's case, he could probably be a backup in the NHL right now. Howard and Mrazek could both be starters. I don't know about Mrazek being a great starter, but I think he could be a competent starter and at some point be great. But.
We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Training camp's right around the corner.
Well, speaking of optimism, so hockey is 70 days away. I don't know if you guys been keeping tabs on like the Twitter countdown. I have
70, yes.
70 days. We're going to be in LCA, like closer than we were at Joe Louis. So my question for you guys, what do you hope to see, like either what they brought over, like as like an item wise to LCA, or like just like some traditions that you hope just to kind of give you like that old barn feeling? Because I don't think we're all ready to truly let go of Joe Louis just yet.
Well, I'm going to kind of I'll answer that, but I'm going to say hopefully that LCA has Sergei Fedorov's retired jersey. It wouldn't necessarily be brought over from Joe Louis, although it deserved to have been retired in Joe Louis. I'll say that again. That needs to be retired. I don't know as much of an item that would be pulled over. I enjoy seeing,
or like something that you saw, like quotes or
yeah,
pictures,
the
like
quote
that you think maybe like motivational.
And I used to have it on my phone all the time. The quote that was on top of their locker room as soon as they were walking out the tunnel, walking out of the locker room, and I can't think of it right now.
Greatness is a daily choice. Yeah.
Is that the one?
They had one with Babcock too. The one with Babcock was cool. I don't remember what it was, but
that would be.
Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't.
That would be my thing. You know, they had some areas that had some different, just pictures and images. I'm sure that they'll do it upright. So that would be my thing. Retire Sergei Fedorov's jersey.
So I'm weird. So obviously I want to see like the statues and the whole 9 yards, all of that. But I want to hear the same goal horn. Am I weird for wanting to hear the same goal horn? Yeah. I want to hear the same goal horn. I want to see this. I want to hear the same music. And, obviously I want to see all the banners. I don't know that they're going to bring all the banners, to be honest with you. They'll bring the Stanley Cup banners. They'll bring all that. But I think that a lot of the conference championships, and they can condense all that, which I think is what's going to happen because the Pistons are coming to town, which I don't know how you guys feel about that. But.
To whom is given, much is expected.
Leave Detroit.
That's the quote.
That's another one, yes.
As soon as they.
What about you, Tess? What do you think?
I was thinking, I was like pondering like this earlier today because I had like a few minutes of downtime during my crazy work schedule. I was wondering, like, should LCA kind of start fresh so they can kind of leave like the legacy of the Joe Louis behind, and so like this new generation, these new kids can kind of like make their own name for themselves, or should they still have all of those great ones like around them to like motivate them? I don't know, like, is it going to motivate them, or they want to make their own path? Like, what's the better?
Do you mean the songs, or what do you mean exactly?
No, like just like around, like just like the pictures and having like
images and murals and
just
stuff,
like the like images and all, like, because remember like when on the outside of the locker room they had all of the names of like the Stanley Cup champions, all those names and people that won the awards. Like, people always said it was motivating, but now when like new building, fresh start, they always say like new chapter, new start. Like, is that their motto?
New building, new me.
I think
literally.
I personally think they're going to bring a lot of. I don't know if they're going to bring it all over. I think they'll make new stuff and they'll make they'll make it look cool. But if there's one thing that the Red Wings do well, I know that they've won over the last 25 years a lot and everything, all of that. But I think that one thing that they know how to do, they know how to dress up their building, they know how to do ceremonies, and they know how to dress the team. With clothes and jerseys and everything that the apparel, everything perfect, everything that the Wings do in that aspect is perfect, and I think that this will be as well.
I just want it to be like as like exciting when you walk into Joe, like everyone's like it's an old building, but there's so many statues and pictures and just history. Like, I know LCA is gonna be brand new, but I want to get that kind of like warm, fresh hug when you walked into the Joe. Like, you just felt like it was home. So I hope that we can make LCA home. I'm still kind of salty about the name. I know it's our owner's company, but come on.
I honestly just, even being a kid, here from Massachusetts, And the first time I ever went in Joe Louis Arena, you know, I had never stepped foot in Detroit in my life. And, like, I just felt like there was 21,000 friends among, like, people from Twitter and stuff were talking to me and everything. But, like, even people that didn't have Twitter, older people, like moms, like grandparents, like, these people are talking to me. I don't even know who you are. And, like, they're just asking me where I'm from. Like, they hear my accent and, like, they're like, how did you become a Red Wings fan? Well, I mean, the greatest Red Wing of all time, Steve Yzerman, besides Gordie Howe. And, like, just it felt like home. And I just hope that LCA feels like that. And I don't really know that it will.
Well, and the last thing on the Joe here, I'll send you guys the links, and we'll try to get it tweeted out. The official Red Wings YouTube page tweeted out, or I'm sorry, not tweeted out, posted 2 videos yesterday and today, final farewells to the Joe. 2 parts that are like 2.5, 3 minutes each. Part 1 is all the current Red Wings just talking about what the Joe meant to them and how much they enjoyed playing there. Part 2 is all the different alumni from Darren McCarty to Mike Vernon, Kurt Maltby, guys just talking about how much they enjoyed playing there. Just kind of, if you guys have 2 or 3 minutes to go and look at that, it was very cool to hear what they thought of the fans and hear, you know, what they thought of Joe Louis.
It's so crazy that, like, we're not going to be playing there. Like, I'm not, like, prepared to watch, like, the first season game, like, at LCA. It's going to be weird. Like,
so guys,
weird.
To wrap this up at some point, but I do want to get your guys' thoughts about this because I don't think we ever did talk about this. Tanner, Tess, what were your favorite memories of Joe Louis Arena? Whether it be the music, whether it be you know, just anything. Like, it doesn't have to be a certain game. It doesn't have. What were your, like, favorite, like, memories or, like, anything from Joe Louis Arena? Besides
I was
everything.
A season ticket holder.
Besides everything.
I had season tickets with my family for 4 seasons, and it was all just an amazing experience. But I'm trying to think what year. It was the season that Gordie Howe had a stroke. I remember it was we played on Halloween. We played against LA, and in commercial break, or on the chairs more right before the game, they had all these signs where everyone said, "Get well, Gordie." And during commercial break, they asked us all to stand up and, you know, hold up your sign. And I forget what song they played. It was just very emotional. You know, the whole 20,000 people kept chanting, "Gordie, Gordie." And it was just an amazing feeling. Like, you had 20,000 people holding up that sign. And you're, like, just trying to, you know, help out Mr. Hockey as much as you can. And then I saw the next day that the Howe family showed Gordie that video of all of us standing up, and he, like, smiled, like, you know, after, you know, during his recovery. And it was just, like, an amazing, like, atmosphere, just that sense of family and unity. That's one of the moments I'll always remember. One of my favorite moments from the Joe.
Mine are always just because we care so much about this team. It's always the fan moments, whether it's throwing octopus on the ice, whether it's singing music even after the puck is in play and going up and down the ice and finishing the rest of the verse or the chorus. Those are always my favorite moments. Those are kind of stuffs that give you goosebumps while just sitting at home watching it on TV. You know, a lot of those players mentioned just the way that Joe Louis was designed. I mean, it was right on top of the ice. I mean, literally right there. It's seats on seats. There's no mid-level suites. So fans created a lot of differences in games just from being as loud as they can. So that is kind of my one favorite thing that comes from that, and I hope it carries over to LCA just with a different, you know, it being built a little bit differently than Joe Louis was.
I think to me it's memories that'll last a lifetime. You know, it's just like the first time I was in Joe Louis Arena, and the last time too, because, you know, the Bruins took a 4-1 lead on the Wings, and, you know, everyone thought it was over. Jared Carell got pulled, and the Wings come back and beat the Bruins in the shootout, and just like it was a regular season game, and the crowd was insane. And it was a Wednesday night rivalry, which I guess made it a little bit bigger, but, like, it was just a regular season game in January, and, like, it was insane. And, like, just like I said, memories will last a lifetime.
Yeah, it's even when we were out of the playoffs and Svechnikov had that shootout goal after they went about 18 rounds or whatever in that shootout, and everybody on Twitter is tweeting out for 5 players in a row, put the kid out there, and then Mickey said something about it on the broadcast, and him scoring, just the reaction of everybody, even for a team that was out of the playoffs at that point, just awesome to see.
I have one more quick thing. My first game ever to Joe Louis was for my 16th birthday many, many years ago. And it was against Montreal Canadiens because I said my first game has to be against an original 16. So my family took me, and I had the same birthday as the one only Chris Osgood. So I feel really cool that I shared birthday with him. So I made him a sign because it was his birthday too. I said, "Hey Ozzy, it's my birthday too. Like, good luck or whatever." And I went down to the glass before during warm-ups, and Chris Draper saw me and tapped his stick at me, gave me a thumbs up, and then like kind of gave like a stick to Ozzy. He looked at me and gave me a little head nod, another thumbs up. I felt so cool as a 16-year-old. He was like, "You saw my sign." I felt like hot shit. And then, I mean, a few years ago when I was, a season ticket holder, I would go down to the glass and just, just being so close to the players, just how nice, they were, even though they're trying to get ready for a game, they would still make time to say hey to a kid or hey to a person that had a sign, give a puck to a kid. It's just that I hope that's the same, like you get that same level of like intimacy, not to like sound weird, but like that you feel so close to these guys.
Yeah.
I hope that carries over.
So many times in like these big buildings and like the new this, the new that. I mean, I've used this example before. I don't think it's a good example because New York is the Big Apple and, it's different. But when the Yankees moved from Yankee Stadium, the old one, to the new one, you lost being able to go like down to the field and be able to see guys like Jeter and A-Rod and those guys. And like, lost fans, but I don't think it's going to be like that in Detroit. I think that, Detroit is very, kind of a close-knit town, and I think that, even just the state of Michigan will have an impact on that. I don't think there will be a problem there.
I agree. It's an exciting time.
But I would just say the last thing, honestly, and you kind of brought this up, Tanner, but like Svechnikov's goal, that was cool. And then like I don't know if you guys remember Anthony Mantha's first goal, and like his grandfather was there like crying and like
yes
with his iPad and they zoomed in on him. Oh, that was such a
I always loved the it was more on road games, I think, but was it for like dad night or whatever? They would have like all the dads in one suite.
Oh, the dads.
Yeah. And every time one of those guys would score, they would have a camera just on them the whole game, and they'd show their. That is like one of my favorite things. At any time that they do that, just watching those guys high five each other, like these are the players' dads, just all.
Or they won. Or they brought the moms on.
Yes, like
they brought the moms on. They lost, and the guys like, "Moms, you guys can't come anymore." Yeah, I like those.
They got swept. They got swept.
They're awesome.
They went down to Florida and got their asses kicked.
Those are awesome.
They're like, "Moms, you can't come anymore." Just sorry, Mom, you gave me life, but you can't come to my games.
Oh man.
Hell, even the Dylan Larkin first goal, like his first night in the NHL against the Leafs.
It was probably the last time Justin.
I was watching.
Amazing. Yeah, 3 goals in one game.
Oh man.
His name. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, memories that'll last a lifetime, and hopefully that the new arena gives what Joe Louis did to us, even just as kids. So I mean, that's. And I just, what? I the other thing I just want to say is like, you can watch that, and if you're a true Detroit Red Wings fan, you watch that final ceremony at Joe Louis Arena, you have to cry. You have to. Even if you just tear up just a little bit, you have to cry. And so
I cried that entire night. I cried before they even dropped the puck. I cried when they gave Henrik Zetterberg that little thing for his 100th or 1,000th career game. I was crying all night. Yes, I'm still internally crying.
So as much as I'd love to sit here and talk more about Joe Louis Arena, we do have to move on. We do have to move on to bigger and better things, hopefully. And hopefully this season will be good to us in terms of good things to do here. So we are sponsoring a golf outing. So it's the 7th annual Andrew Gulch Memorial Golf / Hockey outing. Basically, we're sponsoring it. There's going to be some giveaways there. Well, not giveaways, silent auctions. So you can win a Danny DeKeyser jersey. I believe there's a Nick Foligno jersey. Not that you guys would want that. But there's all kinds of cool stuff. There's actually a Chris Wormley, I believe it's a signed helmet or jersey. I'm not sure exactly what it was. And then,
Yeah, signed
Ted Lindsay jersey. Yeah.
An autographed
and
Ian
not
Cole jersey as well, in case, just trying to get everything out
So
there.
like I said, it should be a good cause, and it is August 19th, so it's a Saturday. So if you guys are in the Ohio area or the Michigan area, just feel free to stop by and donate, because it is to a good cause. And, you know, it's basically benefiting muscular dystrophy. And like I said, you know, it's a good cause. So definitely can donate something. You can actually go to the website. It's called gulchmemorial.com, and, you know, just definitely check it out. So
shout out to them, and shout out to everybody in Winged Octopus who is willing to help out with this. Once the idea of being a sponsor for this event, we thought was a incredible idea. Not just to get our names out there, but you know, the fact that this outing does benefit muscular dystrophy. I know some people who deal with it, but yeah, definitely a great cause, and we're glad to help where we can.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess that's where we're going to end it. Guys, I appreciate you guys coming on and everything, and
thank you.
You know, being the hosts that you guys are, co-hosts that you guys are. I hope you guys have a good night. But before, can you guys please shout out your Twitter handles?
Go ahead.
Tess, you go first.
Tanner didn't do it. Steve Eisenman. Please come home.
Oh, I didn't do it today.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
I stole your thunder. Sorry, not sorry. You can repeat it.
Mrs. Illich.
Please come home.
Get him on
Get on the phone.
FaceTime. Call Stevie. If both of you guys are listening, please come home.
My Twitter handle is @TMDudleyXO.
Mine is @TheOtherTSwift.
You can follow me @Tyler_Seeley, SEALEY, not LY, people. Definitely follow Tanner and Tess. They're a good follow. You can also follow the Winged Octopus on Twitter @Winged Octopus. You can follow us on Instagram as well. We're going to be coming out with a Snapchat, so you guys can take it over while you're at a game, whether you're in Boston or you're in Detroit or you're in LA. Hell, it doesn't matter where you are. You can take over the Winged Octopus. So
love it.
You know, it should be a cool thing. You know, we just kind of dropped that there. But yeah, so you can also follow us on Facebook. We do post some stuff on there. So other than that, guys, Steve Eisenman, please come home and have a great night. Everyone, stay classy, Hockey Town.